Thank you for inviting me. So for my practice, art is not just a final object, it's a durational process. Most of my work is collaborative, and this was a work done with me and 2 other sculptors. It was a journey that started in the United States and ended in Latvia in a site-specific installation. We used hand-processed fibers and took them with us to Latvia, rehydrated them in a river outside a synagogue, and made this piece about memorial. And so the pieces are all cast rock, fibers in rock forms. An object isn't just its material, it has a memory. So this is in Iceland, an unwitnessed performance piece, cast cotton, sat on the rocks overnight in a bin of water, replicating the movement of the ice in the water, and then was pulled into sheets of paper, but it still remembers that for that time it had motion. So I work in a lot of different mediums and materials. Art Shaped Mammoth is an organization that I'm forming as an experiment in organizational aesthetics. So we were invited to do an exhibition in a warehouse, and part of the work is the forming and curating of the exhibition, working with the artists. So while I didn't make these objects, the object I made was this 13-foot fiberglass stalactite that hung from the ceiling of the warehouse. If I was going to talk about what the work was, it would be the forming of the entire thing, not just the object that I made. So that's an example of when I'm thinking about site-specific work and collaboration. This is another example with Art Shaped Mammoth, another art center in New York that invited me to put together something for a courtyard. And so the fiberglass figure sitting on the wall is the object that I made, but the curation and the working with artists and all working together to figure out what we were going to do with the courtyard is the work. In Iceland, an event working with a choreographer in a country bar to put on country line dancing and to create the environment, doing cast paper lanterns and lighting and producing the whole piece as an experience that is the artwork. Musicians get to go on tour like a band, so why can't artists? So 6 of us packed up and went on a 6-week-long tour through the United States, having a show at any place that would offer us an exhibition space. And then we would design each show based on who offered us what. So this was one of our shows, which was in a garage in Minneapolis as part of a community art festival. We set up a printmaking workshop and did prints with people who would stop in and talk to us, and we would talk about the tour. So every show that we did, the whole 6 weeks, was different. And so if you're on tour like a band, you should make art that makes you feel like a rock star. So I brought cast neon signs with me that were self-reflective and self-critical, and I would install them at some of the contemporary art centers that we showed at as we traveled. So I did a series of neon. We all brought different things. If you're on tour like a band, you need posters and merch. So as we would travel, we would create posters and merch, and the idea was the creation of a mythology and the journey and an excursion. So everything we did, all of it was one big artwork. I think it's important to make work with what you have and what's available. So this is in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and it's been an ongoing project now for several years. We were offered a building if we could figure out how to take it down. And so we went and we started to take it down and put it back together. And so this is a photo of us trying to figure out how to build a building. So we invited anyone who could help us, and we spent 2 weeks constructing it. And now, every summer, artists are invited to go to this place in the wilderness, and we have a camp where we focus on sustainability. And so we've added, every summer we add a different building. This was the use of a backhoe was offered. So the piece here would be, or the work would be, trying to figure out how to use a backhoe to dig a clay pit. So here, once again, my work is ephemeral and durational, and I'm learning to dig a clay pit, and we started offering clay processing workshops. So over the last couple years, they've developed, and we teach processing clay from its origin, where you actually dig it from the ground, and you go through the process. And we have a couple different workshops that we offer now, and the camp keeps growing and developing. We offer metal casting, and a lot of my work is experimental. So here I wanted to see what would happen if I cast aluminum into a watermelon. And so that was another ephemeral piece that didn't have any sort of end result that you would show. It was about the experience. And once again, another durational work that's local is the One Arts Center. It's another thing where it would be this idea of organizational aesthetics, so renting an empty building and then seeing what can happen. And the work is the construction of a community art space. What goes into that? How do we make a community art space? So this is just an example of one of the classes that happens in the space, and the entire space is considered a work in progress, an artwork and you wouldn't pinpoint any one thing and say that's the art. It's all part of the work. And so if you gave me an image list and I was going to write in medium for this, I would say structure as art exhibition in a U-Haul truck. And that would be how I would describe my artistic medium if I was applying for a show or something like that. So it's thinking about organizing as medium. Thank you.